Hey everyone, welcome to today's discussion where we will be talking about cybersecurity and the impacts on your wealth and financial security. Welcome to the Double Dragons Wealth and Wellness video webcast, whatever we're calling it, not really sure yet, where we talk about exciting topics and even more exciting guests, especially more exciting than me, and that will revolve around various facets of building wealth and wellness and financial independence and to live a better life with purpose. I'm your co-host, Shane Callahan, founder of Endurance Wealth Planning, where we focus on building wealth utilizing a modern financial planning process. And introducing my co-host, Benjamin Martin. Great to see you, Ben.
Great seeing you. Hello, I am Benjamin. I am a mortgage loan officer with Alliance Mortgage Group. Buying a home can be one of the hardest things that anybody ever undertakes, and oftentimes one of the most stressful. Utilizing my skills in the industry, I turn that nightmare into the American dream. So looking forward to a great podcast. I know we've got an awesome event today too.
Awesome. So our guest today will be Nathan Taylor. He's a cybersecurity expert who works with small and mid-sized businesses to help them navigate the crazy world of corporate and personal data security. Welcome, Nathan.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Sure. Why don't we start off by just telling us a little bit about your business and about yourself, and we'll go from there.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Nathan Taylor. I'm the Director of Technical Services for MachineLogic. We're a Denver-based MSP is the term, Managed Service Provider is the term for our business. And our primary role is to support small and medium businesses with all their technology needs, whether that's just helping you buy a new computer, buying servers for you, helping you move to the cloud, navigating all of those sorts of things. We do that for our customers. We have about 60 customers in the Denver area, although a few of them are nationwide, and we're about a 30-person company. And we just love getting to do IT and help businesses navigate that crazy world. My role at the company is I'm kind of the lead engineer. I lead our engineering team, so I build a lot of our I architect a lot of our solutions and help kind of drive the vision on where we're headed, navigating the many pieces of software and tools you can buy in our industry. So,
sure. When we talk about IT support, especially from the corporate side, helping businesses, a lot of different types of companies that work with small companies, large enterprise. Where's your kind of niche or expertise in there?
Yeah, that's a great question. We generally, our customers are between 25 and 150 employees, although we are starting to move into some larger companies in the 300 to 1,500 user range as we kind of grow as a company and increase our skill set. But we don't have any specific verticals we stick to. We have a lot of different verticals, construction and healthcare and accounting and all kinds of different people. So for us, we're pretty diverse in the types of customers, but the sizes are between 25 and 300 generally.
So Nathan, when you started off, you mentioned an MSP. What exactly is an MSP?
Yeah, it's the industry term for businesses like mine, like ours. That is managed service provider, and I think the name is. We're providing services. We kind of manage your servers. We manage your IT, and there's a whole class of businesses like us. It's kind of an industry of companies that help other companies with IT. And I started out in a really small company 20 years ago doing I was the local IT guy everybody called, and I had a small group of customers I worked for. And as I grew in my career, I realized I wanted to work with more people and be able to accomplish more. And so I moved to a little bit bigger firm, and we have a whole range of people who work for us. So we have a support desk, so you can our customers call us. We remote their computers, help them with basic stuff, password resets, the whole 9 yards, any sort of support. We'll send people on site to businesses to fix printers and set up new computers, that sort of thing. We've got engineers who can deploy servers or do cloud migrations. A lot of our work these days is very much focused around the cloud, Office 365, email, mobile access. Obviously, with COVID, a lot of people working from home, and so we kind of support that from start to finish.
Cool. I know data and cybersecurity is one of the hot topics right now for businesses and for people.
Yes.
So we'll start going down that road right now. And, just in general, what are some ways, a lot of people might have heard these, but it's always good to hear them again. what are
Yes.
some ways people can protect themselves online?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a big part of our business, and it's a growing part of our business. It's become more and more of our focus. And I mean, I remember 15 years ago was when the first viruses were really starting to affect business. So it's been a part of what we do for a long time. But the complexity of what's being thrown at small business has ratcheted up rapidly in the last couple of years. It used to be, as a small business, if you did some basics well, you were pretty safe. And now that list of basics has grown. And I was thinking about this question, kind of trying to think about some things I can share. And there's a couple key things that apply in business and work. And I think one of the big ones right now is your identity is very important. And by identity, I mean who you are online is a big part of cybersecurity these days. For your personal, these are things like, your personal email address, your Gmail account, your Facebook account, your Instagram account, some of these things. For business, it tends to be your email account and maybe your logins to key solutions. But one of the most important things we're pushing in the business and the personal side is a term called multi-factor authentication. You might have seen it, MFA. We're all familiar with this because our banks have been doing this for a long time, where you get a text message when you log into your bank, or you have a little authenticator app that you use to get into your bank. It's very important that we start using those tools in our business and personal solutions as well. Because one of the big things that's happening, you guys have all heard of phishing, but a really common phishing attack is I send you a fake attachment, a fake download, a fake email, either personally or in your job, and I snag your username and password. I know what your username is because it's in your email address, and I get you to type in your password because you think you're logging into Gmail to download a file, or you're logging into OneDrive or whatever it is, and there's no file there, but they now have your credentials. And so multi-factor authentication adds a really key layer for you, where they get your password, they still can't get into your account without your phone, without that authenticator app on your phone. And so for business, this has been a big push for us for the last couple of years, is really helping businesses embrace multi-factor authentication for their, especially their email identities, and as many tools as we can get it on for a business, whether your accounting app or your file share app or whatever applications you use online. You want to see if you can get MFA going. It's a key protector, because eventually you or somebody in your company is going to give away their password, and MFA really protects you from that scenario. Personally, that's really key as well, because if I can get into your Gmail accounts, my guess is that I can find dozens and dozens of services that you use that they reset their password there. So, I got into your Gmail, now I'm going to go reset your password on your, your Robinhood account, or where your different tools that you use to conduct your financial world. Now, hopefully those have MFA on them as well. So your bank is generally forcing you to use MFA. A lot of the financial institutions are, but that ability to add MFA, that your personal email tends to be kind of the hub of all that. And if I can get in there, I can do a lot of damage to you by just being able to get into the various things you interact with across the board. So identity and protecting your access to that identity is a really, really key thing for business and personal things.
So you're talking the MFA, that's the say that again? The
multi-factor authentication, right?
And that's where if you log into your bank's website or something, you get that text on your phone, maybe you have to enter the code, correct? Just for everyone to understand. So we have those, a lot of businesses, like I have a app on my phone. So when I log into a, my trading platform, I have to enter the rolling 6-digit code, it changes every minute. Is that realistic for individuals at home use? Is there, how much do those cost? What does that situation kind of look like for people?
Yeah, it's a great question. Most of the even personal products are starting to have that capability. So like your Gmail account can absolutely do that. Your Outlook.com account can do that. Your Facebook account can do that. So I recommend kind of making an audit of where your critical apps are and going and looking in the settings. And usually it's a checkbox. Hey, add for a second factor on my login. If you're in a business, I will say that I recommend you use the Authenticator app and not the cell phone. Especially if you have some decent wealth that you're worried about protecting, because if somebody really wants to, if you have a very targeted attack on you as a person, they can sometimes do things like do a SIM swap and steal your phone number for a couple hours before you figure it out and you get Verizon to switch it back. Pretty rare, but it can happen. And in that case, they maybe can get past that authenticator for the 2 hours they stole your phone number. They impersonate you to Verizon, whatever. Cell phone numbers get stolen now. It's a thing that happens with the more advanced cyber attacks. So whenever possible, if they give you the option to use an authenticator app, do that. Usually it's free. It's one of the options. You can run usually one app for almost any service. So oftentimes they'll say, I'll go download the Google Authenticator app. But usually you can use a Google Authenticator app or a LastPass app or a Microsoft Authenticator app across your services. They all kind of use a standard format. And so you don't have to have 17 apps. You can usually consolidate. But anything that will let you do an app like that, it's worth doing. Kind of another piece around your identity is it's also important to start thinking, especially as business owners, about what you're posting on social media. I find that we have had customers with some pretty targeted attacks where the owner goes on vacation, posts a picture from Aruba, and all of a sudden there's an email into the controller that says, hey, I'm in Aruba, I don't have any cell coverage, but you need to transfer some money in a hurry. You need to be thoughtful about what you're doing, what you're posting online. These are all, especially if it's publicly accessible. We all need to live our lives and we want to interact with our friends and family, but you have to be careful. You have to be thoughtful because it's a very, there's a lot of value in impersonating people, especially key executives that might have access to wealth either in business or personal. There's some real incentive for those people to spend some time learning about you, your habits, the people you know, the places you go. And I'm certainly not trying to scare everybody. I don't want to be the fear, uncertainty, and doubt guy. Like, oh my goodness, let's go move to the mountains and buy a bunch of guns and not talk to anybody ever again. That's not what I'm getting at. But there's a certain level of awareness you need to have of what you're doing and how other people can use that in these cases to try to attack your business or your personal assets. So.
No, it makes sense.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Hey, Nathan, just to shift gears just a little bit, one of the things we also like to do on this podcast is we like to get to know the people behind the business because we're all very much relationship based. So what would you say just personally are some of your passions or some of the things that you're really into? Yeah,
I am. My family's a big part of my life, and maybe that's a little token answer, but we got 2 kids at home, and that's a big part of life. I look forward to getting off work and hanging out with my boys and doing stuff with them. I do have a few hobbies around. We're pretty active in our church and really enjoy serving there and being a part of that community. And I do like exercising. And I like watching sports. I'm a big sports guy, so football and pretty much any sport I'll watch, and I enjoy that. But I think the family's kind of the passion and the focus generally. I just enjoy spending time with them, and I got little kids, so it takes all the free time you can give them at this point in life. So,
absolutely
true that. So with everything that happened last year, how has COVID affected you, and how has COVID affected your family and your customers?
Yeah. Obviously, COVID was a big effect, and maybe I'll go through those in order because there's a lot of things to cover there. Personally, was grateful just to have have a home. It was nice to have a little space, in our home where I was able to work at home pretty comfortably. I enjoyed getting to spend more time with the family. So I enjoyed those pieces. I definitely miss those interactions with coworkers and employees and that social aspect. That was very hard, as it was for everybody, and I really missed that. And I definitely struggled a little bit in just it changed the way I dealt with stress. It was a very stressful. We'll get to kind of the work conversation, but work became very stressful for a while, and I had to learn some new skills to deal with stress because there's lots of little subtle things that change when you start working from home. You don't get that half an hour in the car on the way to and from work to listen to sports radio and decompress. And it seems subtle, but you jump out of your last conference call and jump into, your kids fighting. And I think sometimes that adds up over weeks and weeks of of just little things have changed in your life, and you have to learn new skills to deal with stress. So that's something I've had to really focus on, is being more consistent with exercising and time in the Bible and prayer and things that really help me kind of have perspective and really deal with stress have been something I've had to be very intentional about. On a work level, obviously our customers were drastically impacted, and it very quickly impacted us as their IT provider, because a lot of companies went from, hey, maybe we don't allow people to work from home, or we have some remote access, but generally want people in the office too. They all had to work from home overnight. And so thankfully, most of our customers were pretty well set for that remote work, but we had a few customers where we really had to scramble to get some solutions set up for working from home. So that kind of really took the first couple, 3-4 months out of COVID. We were really trying to make sure all of our customers were really successfully working from home. We saw rapid adoption of tools like Zoom and Teams. We're big fans of Teams, and it's just transformational for those businesses to interact with each other and with customers and do conference calls and chatting and the whole 9 yards. There's a saying in our industry of, digital transformation is one of the buzzwords for how quickly businesses are adapting to new technology. And there's some discussions that we had 3 to 5 years worth of digital transformation in a matter of months last year, where we've been asking people to really embrace things like Teams and say, this is going to be a big deal for your business. And, oh yeah, that's interesting. That's a cool tool you like as the IT guy. And a week later, it was where they did everything. And so it changed the businesses a lot in that way, that remote work, that ability to work from home, that change of business culture that said, no, nobody gets to work from home. I need to see them, to, well, how do we work? How do we manage when people are working from home? And what does that look like going forward? There's also been a major uptick in the volume of cyber attacks against our customers and the complexity. Like we've talked about a little bit here, but a lot of phishing attacks, and we've seen a lot of stuff in the news, just big things happening. And so for us in the IT industry, our world has to move quickly. We have to respond to those quickly. And where a customer was safe yesterday, when there's a new cyber attack, I may have to go fix that for them. There's a vulnerability, or maybe something that wasn't a security concern yesterday is now, and I have to go fix that for 60 customers. And so there's definitely been some stressful moments for us as a business where we really had to respond to that. Thankfully, we generally have made good IT decisions for our customers, and so none of it really impacted us too drastically. We haven't had any major things, but certainly for us, there's an added level of stress related to that we've had to deal with. And I think the coming years are going to be very interesting. We're hearing varying responses to the ability to start showing back up at work. People are starting to have that ability to move back to their offices a little bit, where depending on your locality and the regulations nearby. And we have a few customers who are starting to try and be more in the office. We have a couple others that are saying, we're going to give it another year and we're going to see. And I really think that very few customers are going to go back to full work from the office. I think most people are going to do much more of a hybrid, which I think is great. That's where we've settled as a company. We like to see our employees a couple days a week. It's important to have that face-to-face interaction. And I think some employees need that, just that collaboration and that encouragement to stay focused and work hard. I think working from home, sometimes you can get in a funk and be less productive, especially some of our younger employees. I think it's older. Those of us who are older have a lot more on our plate, and sometimes it's easier to get stuff done. I'm more productive at home personally, but I miss that interaction, and I don't get to, manage and interact with people as much. So I think long-term, we'll see a couple of days a week from home be a pretty common thing for people, but I think people will still try to have offices space that they can interact in. And we're having a lot of customers talk about implementing hoteling, where maybe the office is converted to much more of a flexible space where it's just, hey, we've got 10 desks open. If you're here during the day, pick a desk. If you're working from home, work from home, and whoever's there that day can choose from the available spaces. And I think that's something you're going to see a lot of, and I think that's a good way to do it, kind of have some flexibility there. So, and there's a new term for you, hoteling a desk.
There you go. That's one thing we've learned this past year, is a lot of new words.
Yes, for
sure.
sure.
And all those other funky words. So. You talked about the data security and you try to prevent that, but if it does happen, right, your data gets hacked and you get those ransom emails or the thing pops up and says you need to call this number, or you have the Apple gift cards you're supposed to send or whatever like that. What should people do? Whether personal or again on the corporate side.
Yeah.
If you're in that situation, your adrenaline's going, you don't know what happened. So to think clearly, what are a couple of those first couple steps maybe?
Yeah, there's a few variables there. First of all, like one of the key things that we're seeing a lot of is people falling victim to scams from phone calls or emails. Be very careful. If like Microsoft doesn't care enough about you to call you and tell you there's something wrong with your computer. They don't want to staff that. That's not something they do. So somebody calls you and says, hey, there's something wrong with your computer, I want to fix it, and they initiated the call, be very doubtful about that. Be very careful about that. That is probably not legitimate. Similar to email, be very careful about email. You get an email from your bank that you got to go change something. Don't click on the link in the email. Go open your bank website in another browser, in another window, and go log into your bank and look in their message center. Most of the time, you just need to be very careful about the links in your email and ask lots of questions, pay attention to the URLs. If you do get compromised, hopefully you have a competent IT person you can pull in who can help you with that. We find that a lot of the things are like a scareware website that you're not really compromised. It just looks like it.
Okay.
I think, it's important to reach out to law enforcement if there's a volume of money involved. If you've transferred some decent amount of money, talk to them, because there are becoming more and more ways for them to stop some of those wire transfers and stuff. As a business, your accounting controls become key. We've seen a lot of businesses where there's two key accounting controls you need in as a business. One is any ACH changes for customers or vendors need to be verbally verified. You get an email saying, hey, we've changed our ACH account for payments. Call them. Go call their accounts payable department. Don't call the email and don't call the number on the email. Go look up their number on their website. Call their AP department and say, did you change your bank? Did you change your ACH details? Because that's a common thing where they'll intercept an invoice, change the ACH on it, send it to you, and then you wire the money for a legitimate invoice to the wrong place. Similarly, any sort of large wire transfers, hey, the business owner told me to transfer this money today because it's for a key deal, call them. And if you can't get a hold of them, the people who can wire money need to know that they need to verbally verify things, or you have a very solid process for verifying that, because we've seen very large wire transfers happen where a CEO or another executive gets impersonated and they demand an immediate wire transfer, and the accounting department says, yes, sir, right away, sir. And all of a sudden that money's gone. So I think those are key details. The gift card stuff, there's basically never a legitimate reason for that. So if you're getting asked for that, and law enforcement can help you with that stuff. The challenge is on like the personal level. If you get your stuff, hacked, and even as a business, I think prevention is the best medicine. And maybe that's a token term, but there's a couple things. Like I said, MFA goes a long ways. For your business and personal stuff, have backups of your critical stuff, because those ransomware attacks, oftentimes the way they have you is, hey, I've got your data and you're not getting it back unless you pay me. Well, if you have good backups that are well thought out, hey, I've got an online backup, I've got an external drive that's not hooked up, you can go, well, that stinks, I'm gonna have to restore from backup, but I will do that rather than pay you money. That's really helped out with businesses in the past and personal attacks. As a business, if you do realize you've been seriously compromised, our recommendation is to very quickly call your insurance company. If you have cybersecurity insurance, be very careful how you respond. Your IT department can actually cause more damage in the investigation. So if you've been legitimately hacked and you have cybersecurity insurance, call those guys, because they have a staff built for that, and they'll help you with the remediation. And there's a good chance that your IT department, in trying to kind of kick out the bad guys or fix the problem, may help bury the trail, may interfere with some things. And there's also just the conflict of interest for guys like me. It's my job to as much as I can, protect you. Well, if you've been compromised, it's better even for me, for somebody else to go look at that and say, yeah, we see how it happened. It's not his fault. Or, maybe not even a fault conversation. Just, you may not get paid on your cybersecurity insurance if your IT guy is the one who resolves a major compromise. And I'm not talking about somebody, a little virus on your computer or something, but you have a major corporate, compromise of some sort, a major data loss or a ransomware incident. Make sure you're contacting your insurance company and local law enforcement authorities when appropriate, because it's a changing world of cyber liability and cyber insurance and those regulations and those rules. And it's the insurance companies usually know the right way to handle that if you have that. So I just threw a lot at you there. So I know I'm buzzing through a lot of information.
No, good information. I think it's a hot topic for a lot of people nowadays.
Yeah.
If that does happen, they want to know, what to do in this first couple of steps. So, where do you see IT going in the next few years? We talked about a lot of things they're going on now, but call it kind of the wild, wild west, right? You never know.
Yeah.
We didn't think IT would be at the point of where it is a year ago.
Sure.
So, where do you see it in the next few years?
I think the migration to the cloud, as it were, it's a term we use a lot of, the cloud, is going to continue. And to, I guess, explain that concept, my data from many of my customers is not located on their computer on their desk, or even in a server in a closet downstairs, or in a server in a data center. It's in Microsoft servers. They've got 1 million servers, and the data just somehow lives in Microsoft's ecosystem. Or maybe you're using Google Apps, or you're using Salesforce, or using some sort of QuickBooks Online, or that sort of thing. I think that continued migration to kind of cloud-based hosted solutions is where we're going to continue to go, and I think there's a lot of value in that. I don't want to manage servers anymore. I don't want to replace hard drives and manage backups. I'd much rather see you on a solution where you're paying QuickBooks to handle your QuickBooks in their website. And I think that there's some really key advantages to that. There's a lot less of the local data protection I have to worry about. I don't have to worry about backups as much. Their security tends to be better because they're a website and they've built some structure in there. I see a lot of, you might have heard of the term single sign-on, where I can sign into 3 or 4 of my work apps with my one account. My Office 365 account gets me into the accounting app and the database app and that sort of thing. That's a big win for us on the IT side, because it means I'm managing less passwords. I can also add policies and security around that one account that apply to 4 or 5 solutions. And I've got one place to do logging, and onboarding and offboarding of employees is a little bit more consistent as well. So I see a lot of move to the cloud, just as people continue to work from home. The idea of putting hundreds of thousands of dollars into a data center or a server closet downstairs in your office just doesn't make sense. And I think those cloud solutions are going to continue to gain momentum. I think the collaboration landscape is going to continue to evolve. These Teams meetings that we all live in, and I think we're also going to have to change how we work. Like I know there's some bigger corporations like Microsoft that they start their meetings 10 minutes after the hour, because I don't know about you guys, but I get in some days where I'm 4 or 5 meetings in a row, and you don't even get a chance to go get a glass of water, take a little breather. And so Microsoft has implemented a policy that, hey, meetings start 10 minutes after the hour, because nobody's ever ended a meeting early, so asking people to meet in 10 minutes early for the next meeting is not going to happen. So we're going to start late. And I think there's some wisdom in that, where there are these days where we end up being in too many calls, too many meetings. It's hard to find productive focus time, and we're going to find ways to stand up and take a break. And I think that's just going to change how we work. I think we're going to have to figure some of that out and learn new skills. I think managing people is something we're going to have to learn how to do differently. That's a challenge remotely. How do you do those check-ins and get the temperature check? So I think a lot of that's going to be stuff we're going to have to learn new skills on in the next couple of years.
So Nathan, the final question that I have along that is, and this is kind of more on the personal side, I think the business side, but as all of us are working from home, I noticed even during this recording, I had a couple pop-ups where it's like, hey, your internet's starting to lag a little bit. What can businesses or what can individuals do in order to help as we transition to the web and we start pulling more data from the web and putting more data, what can we do to help transition that?
Yeah, we've all been there. The week where your local ISP is just running terrible. It is a challenge. For most of our businesses for a long time, we've recommended having 2 different internet circuits from 2 different providers. So like in Denver, the 2 main providers are Comcast and CenturyLink. It's good to have a circuit from both, and a decent business firewall will allow you to do multiple connections and will kind of fail over between the 2 of them, so that if CenturyLink's having a regional issue or a local issue, your Comcast circuit is up and you can still get to your video conference calls. That's certainly something you can do at home. Takes a little bit more advanced skills and maybe a little nicer router. But some of the other providers, like some of the Comcast circuits, now come with a little cellular card in there or that sort of thing. I do think it's useful to have, a hotspot capability on your phone. I've certainly done that when I'm a couple times Comcast has really struggled on my network. I'll switch to running off of the T-Mobile network on my phone. Hook my laptop up to that as a workaround, because you got to get work done and you need that internet access. And that's not a good good thing for a week, because before you know it, you're paying, overage charges because you only get so much data through your phone. But as a stopgap, that's a great solution. Hopefully some of these coffee shops start letting people meet inside again, because sometimes, you just run over to Starbucks. But I think just, buying halfway decent internet is a thing. And I think if you're running on old Wi-Fi technology, it's worth looking at some of the newer Wi-Fi technology. Wi-Fi's come a long ways in the last even year or two. The newer Wi-Fi 6 and mesh router systems really make a big difference when you're trying to get Wi-Fi coverage across your house. You might spend $300-400 getting some of that in place, $500, but there's some really interesting, companies selling these mesh systems, and you plug them in, and there's an app to manage it. It makes pretty straightforward, and they can tell you, hey, that one access point's too far away. You're really not getting good coverage over here, and the Wi-Fi systems are getting smarter, and that goes a long ways too for that work from home scenario. So there's a couple tips for you.
Nice. Well, thanks for that. I think our last question, kind of a quick question here. What's your favorite or preferred virtual platform between Zoom, WebEx, you mentioned Teams, GoToMeeting? What would be your number one go-to?
Well, I'm a Microsoft guy. A lot of our business is built around Microsoft, and I've been working on their products for 20 years, and I really think Teams is a really incredible product. It can do the video conferencing that Zoom can do. It can do the chatting that Slack can do, but it also can do some really cool document collaboration. And we run our business out of Teams. It's about 70% of our communication internally. We live in Teams, and so to me, that's just my favorite tool that we have, and it's an incredible boost to our productivity, and I'm a big fan of it.
Perfect. Well, thanks, Nathan, for all your information today. It was really great, and to learn everything. If someone wants to get in contact with you, what would be the best way?
Yeah, looks like BK put up my LinkedIn. You're welcome to connect with me on LinkedIn. You can also check us out on our website, MachineLogic.com, and hopefully we'll run into you online sometime.
Perfect. Well, thanks a lot, Nathan. Appreciate your time. And thanks everyone for watching today, and we'll be back with more webcast videos on wealth and wellness and how to protect and thrive in today's crazy new world. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
If you guys have any questions, comments, or ideas of how we can improve this, we welcome you to leave them in the YouTube comment section. We take the time to read every single comment that comes in, all the emails. So definitely hit us up. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.